Are you always motivating and inspiring people with your story? Do people always come to you for advice? Have you thought about writing a book? Or maybe you've already written a book, but now you're wondering, how do I turn this into a business? How do I make money? Well, I can confirm that you can absolutely make money from sharing your story. But it is not just about turning on your camera and telling everyone your story. Because let's be real, there's a lot of people on social media right now sharing their story, but not everybody is making money. So in this video, I'm going to share with you how to package, promote, and profit from your story. The difference between people who make money from their story and those who don't is that the ones who do understand your story is not about you. Your story is a bridge for your audience to walk across to get to their transformation. Yes, your story is going to inspire. Yes, it's going to motivate, but the main purpose of your story is for your audience to feel the cells of their body vibrating so that they feel empowered to now go take action to get that same result or transformation that's roped through your story. This means that you're going to have to learn to tell a story that is inviting so that your audience can see themselves in your story. They can already be at the edge of their seats, feeling like they've already had a breakthrough. The cells in their body are going to vibrate. They're going to have a visceral experience for what you are saying because the fragrance of your words are going to be lingering long after they've heard your story. Now, there's two ways that we can tell a story. The first way is you can make it all about you, and now your audience is going to say, good job. Wow, that's really inspiring. Wow, that's really motivating. They're going to see you had success. You had a transformation. Good job for you. But they're not going to believe that that's possible for them. So the second way to tell a story is that your audience feels they are in your story. They can identify themselves in that story and go, whoa, they're relating. Their heart is racing. Their cells are vibrating because you've pulled them into your story. They're literally on the edge of their seats, not just saying, good job for you, but they're believing that that kind of transformation, that kind of result is possible for them too. So I'm sure you're probably like, okay, well, how do I do that? How do I be the second way? How do I tell a story like that so that people are pulled in? I'm going to give you the 4 steps to profit from your story. The first step is to pinpoint pivotal moments. So I want you to write out your story, and then you're going to pinpoint the pivotal moments, the high highs, the low lows, and all of the transitions in between. Now, when you do this, you're going to be marking into your brain some of the most important components that are going to really turn and stir up the audience. And I will share how to do all that in these upcoming steps. So, for example, I will often share that I grew up with a really bad stutter to the point where I couldn't even say my own name. A pivotal point for me in my story with a stutter is when I was a freshman in high school. I was at my orientation, and our group leader wanted us to go around the circle and introduce ourselves. And I am sweating bullets because I'm like, I hope you go this way because I'm going to have a much longer time so I can practice saying my own name. Sounds crazy, right? To practice saying your own name. But she decided to go this way, which was the shorter way. And by the time she got to me, I stuttered over my name so bad. Siobhan sounded like it had multiple S's. And I was so embarrassed. All the girls were laughing because I went to a all-girl Catholic high school. All the girls were laughing. I wasn't laughing. So I'm like, you can't be laughing with me because I'm not laughing. I was mortified. I probably turned red and I just like sat there and I remember putting my head down and I was just feeling embarrassed for the remainder of our orientation. Now, that is a pivotal moment. The other pivotal moment, which is a transition, is in 2014 when I went to an internet marketing for newbies event. It was where I learned all about the interwebs, how to start monetizing my knowledge and my skill sets online. And I thought to myself, if I'm going to start a business, I'm going to have to get on camera. I'm going to have to talk to people. I'm going to have to do some public speaking. And I was like, the gal who grew up with a stutter is going to have to learn how to talk. And so that is a transition. That is a moment where I made an internal decision that I'm deciding to have a better life. I'm deciding to build a business and in the future leave my 9 to 5 job. This was back in 2014, what I was thinking. I was like, I'm going to have to get over this, whatever it is that's keeping my voice in a stutter. That level of transition is a defining moment. So that is just a part of my story, but I give you that as an example so you can see there's some high highs, there's some low lows, and then there's a transition where I was like, this thing has got to change. So, what is that for your story? Number two is process your path. So, what result did you get for yourself? And then, what are the steps that you took in order to get those results? So, how did you go from having a low low to a high high? What steps did you take to get that desired result? And what specifically guided your transformation? So for me, I actually took some very specific steps that helped me overcome the stutter, that helped me become confident on camera. And I actually have a video on that where I talk about the 10 steps that I took on how to overcome my stutter. I will link that for you in the description box. And so those are the 10 steps, and that's just a one segment of my story. So what is that process for you? What are those steps? So what is a way of thinking that you had to adopt? How did you get yourself to start taking new actions? What kind of beliefs did you now have to install? Now, I can tell you I'm an introvert. Might be hard to tell. They always seem to say that people who are on social media are all extroverts. Absolutely false. I am an introvert through and through. I turn it on for the camera. I enjoy doing this and I love serving all of you. So there's a level of personality that comes out that can make people feel like I'm an extrovert. But when I'm done peopling, I'm done peopling, not just on camera, but even in person. Drop in the comments if you could even relate to that. And so the new belief that I really had to develop is that being on camera isn't just for extroverts. Introverts can be on camera too. Sounds crazy, right? But I had to really wrap my mind around I can be an introvert and still build a business on social media. I can be an introvert and still go to a networking event and build new connections and friendships. I had this thought in my mind that, like, as an introvert, you just don't do those things, or that it's harder for introverts to do those things. It's not harder. It's really just about perspective. And my desire at that time, back in 2014, to build a business on social media was so much higher. I was like, I'm willing to be the kind of person who can do the thing. And that means that I had to overcome this belief system that it's harder for an introvert, because it's not. It's really just your perception. So what is the process of your path that you took yourself through? And what are those specific steps and what guided your transformation? Now, number 3 is to package your proven pathway. Now, what I mean by this is turning your steps into a framework for someone to follow to be able to get results. So, for example, I am right now giving you this 4-step framework to be able to profit from your story. Inside of my other video, I gave you the 10 steps that I took to overcome my stutter and become confident on camera. So as you can see, even if you go back and watch all my other videos, there is a framework that you can follow that is going to lead you to the success. It's going to lead you to the result. And so what is your framework? Now, as you wrote down all of those steps and you wrote down what you did, you can name it. You can create an acronym. There's so many different ways that you can create the framework. But as you can see, for example, in this particular framework, everything starts with a P. So the first one was to pinpoint your pivotal moments. The second one was to process your path. The third here is to package your proven pathway. You can see how these are steps, and each phrase of the steps is actually telling you the what to do already. Okay, so that's number 3. And then number 4 is to present and profit. So this is where, when you present, this is when you use analogies, metaphors, and bite-sized parts of your story to now present it online so that you invite your audience into the story. When you are telling a story and it is all about you, and you don't have an analogy or you don't have a metaphor, then it's really difficult sometimes for your audience to see themselves. But when you use an analogy and you use a metaphor, now your audience feels like they are invited, because analogies and metaphors are like glue to your story. They are universal because they are essentially creating a picture in someone's mind about what you're saying. And so when you're able to do that, now you're building more believability. Or even a parable, a just well-known parable. Maybe you can use something from scripture, but something that really conveys a message that is universal for people to understand. That invites them in because it creates relatability, not just on a story level, but on a like human psychology level. And that is what is so inviting when they feel the glue of your story, because it's not just about you. So, this is how you increase levels of believability, because when your audience can see something, they can believe something. When I just shared my stutter story, you got the picture that we were sitting in a circle. You got the picture that I was closer to one side than the other, because this was the long way, this was the short way. And I said, I was hoping she went this way and not this way, right? So you can start to see in your mind, okay, I'm sitting in a circle, she's closer to this side. All of that was me creating a picture in your mind. Sometimes there's parts of our story where it might be hard for someone to imagine. So you want to insert an analogy, insert a metaphor, insert a well-known parable. And that way people can now feel connected to what you are saying. They can grasp it a lot easier. This is how you actually avoid people telling you, good story. You're so motivating. You're so inspiring. Because you can motivate someone and inspire someone, but that doesn't mean that they want to buy from you. But the moment you invite that person into your story is the moment that they want more of you, because that fragrance of your words are still lingering. And they're like, I want more of that, right? And so that's how you do that. Now, when you profit, this is where you can turn it into a book. You can turn it into a course, into a coaching program, into a membership. You can do podcast interviews, YouTube interviews. You can profit in that way. So when you are showing up to a YouTube interview, podcast interview, for example, when someone's asking you about your story, you're not just like, I. Now you're actually saying your story, but you're also inviting the audience by saying it's kind of like, and then you can insert your metaphor. Well, it's kind of like, and then you can insert your analogy. And that way people can start to get it. They can start to grasp their minds around what it is you are saying. And then you can also lay out a framework. You can say, when people always love to say, well, tell me what you did to get to where you are. People can go into this whole big long story. But when you can chunk it down for your audience to understand, and you say, there's a lot that I've done, but what I've been able to do is kind of break it up into these 5 steps, break it up into these 4 steps, break it up into these 7 steps. And now the audience can go from something that's so broad and general to something that's more specific, and they can grasp it easier. So now they're like, okay, 4 steps, 3 steps, 5 steps. And then you name these steps and you're like, first I did this. And then you can talk about that some more. Then I did this. Then you can extrapolate on that. Then I did this. This is the exact same format of this video. Now, this is a more logical video. I'm actually walking you through some like very practical steps. But even in a storytelling video where it's about a segment of your story, like for example, my stutter story, when I share that, I still give very practical steps, even though I am humanizing that moment by saying, I was mortified, because I was. When I use adjectives like that, you're going to remember a time that you were also mortified. Maybe it was when you turned a camera on, and maybe you did your first interview and you're like, oh my gosh, like I just tripped over my words. I blanked out. I forgot what I was saying. Might not be a stutter, but it might just be something where you also felt mortified. So using adjectives as well is going to be helpful. So a course or a coaching program, you turn your framework, you turn your steps into a program. You invite people into that program to learn from you. Now, you can do one-to-one coaching, you could do one-to-many coaching. This will really depend on where you are in your business journey. If you are at the very beginning, now monetizing your story, it will depend on how many people you already have following you, your network, and your ability to actually speak to your story and get your story out. Do you have any limiting beliefs that you need to first work through? But there's many different ways that you can start when it comes to profiting. A very easy way is to just start working with some people one-to-one, getting some beta clients, getting some beta testers to go through the process that you are teaching. And then once you have collected that data, now you can turn around and create the book. Now you can turn around and create your full-on coaching plan, coaching program. You can now create some kind of membership site where you're putting out consistent content that is helping people to get the result. Now you can book yourself for more YouTube interviews, podcast interviews, and that just continues out. But pick the way that comes the easiest to start with. Pick the way that allows you to start being into profit first. And that way you can build off of that first level of foundation. I personally, when I started with one-on-one coaching. I will link a video down below on how you can get started doing that. But I started with one-on-one coaching. And then from one-on-one coaching, I went to group coaching. Then I went into creating courses. So I've got a couple of courses. I will link that for you down below. I don't mean this to be that kind of video. This is just a basic video to help you understand, well, how do I start making money from my story? And I just got some resources I'm sharing with you in the description box so you can see how this works. And so I did one-on-one coaching, group coaching, courses, and now I do one-to-many coaching, and I still do one-to-one coaching. And so I've got some moving offers within my business. I don't have a book yet for this particular business, but the first book that I did write is actually for the first business that I had when I started back in 2014. So as you can see, I've personally pivoted in my entrepreneurial journey, and you are going to do that. As you get started, you are going to continue to grow. Your knowledge will grow of the industry, online business, and all of that. You personally will grow because all business owners end up being on a spiritual journey. We are deepening our faith as we are going through this because we do nothing without Him. And so as you do that, you're going to start to incorporate more elements of yourself into your business. You're going to become more expressive in your content that you are creating. And all of that is going to morph how your business looks over time. So don't get married to the starting point. Don't overthink this process. Pick something and go with it. And then you start to figure out the rest of it along the way. Subscribe to this channel so I can help to guide you. So when it comes to creating content, what you really want to do is you want to answer questions and solve problems. You don't just want to create content that people can't do anything with. How many times have you scrolled social and you're wondering to yourself, why did somebody post that? Or it just does nothing for you. Now, there's nothing wrong with posting some lifestyle content and, inviting people into your life. There's nothing wrong with that. But if every piece of content is just like nothing, it's not doing anything for your person, it's not helping them learn something or take a different action, then that content is not going to be deemed as valuable in the way that somebody wants to spend money with you or can build trust with you. So you want your content to answer questions and solve problems. So what kind of people desire the transformation or the result that you can provide? You really have to think about that. Think about what kind of people. This is where we get into understanding your avatar, the person that you are talking to online. I know that I'm talking to a person who is a thought leader, a person who's made for more, a person who desires to grow and build a business, a person who's walking away from the 9-to-5 or has already walked away from the 9-to-5, but is wanting to expand deeper and grow their business more. That's the kind of person that I am talking to, a person that is like high achiever, ready to do the thing, but also a person who is so heart-centered. So I know the kind of result that you are looking for in your life. It is not just practical, but it's also a spiritual result as well. So you'll start to see that on my channel, the different kinds of videos. And if you follow me on Instagram, you're going to see a lot of my content weaves in a lot of these components, but they're always answering some kind of a question because I know the kind of transformation that my audience desires. So then you go into what challenges, pains, or troubles is your person having along the way of achieving that result. Now, all of the steps that you have in your framework, all of the processes that you took yourself through, those are all the answers that you already have to help the other person to overcome that challenge. So you've got all the answers. What you have to do is just understand, well, what are their challenges? Because they might be a little bit different than yours. So it's really good to just say, okay, what is the market research out there? Go out and find some people and have a conversation with them, start to learn more about them. Because even though you might be speaking to a person who is similar to you along that journey, everyone's going to come from a different angle, right? And so you want to make sure that when you are solving problems in your content, you're approaching it from different angles, but you already have all of the answers. The answer that you're solving the problems within your content comes from your steps, comes from your framework, which is why it's so essential to have a process, to have a framework for people to follow and model. And this is the kind of content that creates a new perspective for your audience so that they start seeing the problem that they're going through or their challenge differently. They start adopting a new way of thinking so they can get to the transformation. Now they're learning, well, what kind of actions they need to take because they're going to look at the actions they're already taking and go, huh, I'm not taking actions like that. I don't have that kind of belief. I don't I don't move like that. I don't think like that. I don't perceive like that. And so what your content is doing is it's opening them up. It's opening up their brains to see something differently so that way they can get to the transformation. Because nothing is holding back any of us. It is just our perception about where we think we're going or how we're actually getting there. But the moment we can shift our lens and we can see something a little differently, now it's like, oh, my vision's all cleared up. You've already been on a spot in your journey where things weren't clear. Someone said something to you and it clicked. And you went, oh, and it just cleared it all up. And then you can go on your path and you might have had to shift just a bit, but you were able to get there. So your content is going to shift the perspective. I trust that this video serves you in profiting from your story. Drop in the comments below. I would love to hear what is the story that you are bringing into this world. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.